A rocket-propelled grenade impacted in a rock wall right behind my head, about 10 feet. I was badly wounded, very nearly killed. My life was saved by 3 Marines who broke cover under fire to drag me out of the kill zone.
I do not know you, but I am your brother.
You do not know me, but I am your protector.
I will run into a burning building to save your life.
Though I do not know your name, I will take a bullet for you.
Though we've never met,
I believe in duty and sacrifice
of self.
Your family is my family.
Is my family. Your life is my duty.
What's going on, guys? Time for another episode of Behind the Uniforms. For those of you who have never seen this show before, the way it works is really simple. We invite either active or retired law enforcement veterans onto the show. We ask them to tell us 2 stories. Tell us about a good day, tell us about a bad day. And so without further ado, I'd like this guy to tell you all who he is.
My name is Mike Zacchea. I'm a combat wounded, medically retired Marine Lieutenant Colonel. I have a book out now called The Ragged Edge, a Marine's account of leading the Iraqi Army 5th Battalion. I built, trained, and led in combat the first Iraqi Army battalion trained by the U.S. military at a time when it had never been done. And the last Westerner to do what I did was Lawrence of Arabia. The website is theraggededgebook.com.
All right, so where do you want to start? You want to tell me about a good day or a bad day?
Let's start with a bad day, because they're actually related. So when I was in Iraq, I was boots on the ground there, March 2004, and the country really exploded in the insurgency late March, early April of 2004. That's when the Blackwater guys were abducted and murdered, massacred, desecrated in Fallujah. I had a team of 10 Marines, actually slightly less, 8, it was supposed to be 10, that built the first Iraqi Army battalion, and we had 900 Iraqis and the 8 of us standing there in the desert in a place called Kirkush, looking at each other saying, what are we going to do next? We put them through a version of Marine Corps boot camp training, and then we taught them infantry tactics, and we started in combat in August of 2004. And we were in daily contact with the enemy. We were in a town called Taji, which is just northwest of Baghdad, about 20 kilometers, about 12 miles northwest of Baghdad on the Tigris River. We suffered many of the atrocities that people read about with regard to ISIS. Lots of abductions, beheadings. A lot of our soldiers were abducted and tortured. Very, very difficult. We got orders to go to Fallujah for the assault in Fallujah, November 1st of 2004. We made the assault on the night of November 7th to 8th. And I write about that in the book. The worst day, at least for me personally, I was wounded on November 11th, 2004, which is Veterans Day. A rocket-propelled grenade impacted in a rock wall right behind my head, about 10 feet. I was badly wounded, very nearly killed. My life was saved by 3 Marines who broke cover under fire to drag me out of the kill zone. And they wanted to medevac me, but I declined to be medevaced, and I stayed in the fight. And the next day, we assaulted and captured a major insurgent mosque in Fallujah called the Al-Hadra Al-Muhammadiyah Mosque. So that was my worst day.
Tell me about a good day.
My favorite day of all time was when my son was born, which is November 4th of 2010. I'm extremely, extremely grateful that I made it when many, many Marines and people that I know did not make it. And I feel very, very grateful and privileged that I can be his father, because I know too well the cost of service.
Little battle wound testament to your kid, huh?
Yeah. We were playing tag and I fell and I rolled my wrist up and so yeah, he's a great kid though. He's about to be 7 a week from Sunday, and he does all kinds of sports and he's very doing great in school. But he's a lot of fun. I really enjoy the opportunity to be his father.
What does America mean to you?
What does America mean to me? I am a believer in service. I grew up in a Marine family. My grandfather was a Marine enlisted in 1930, went to China. I had a number of relatives who were in the Marines and the Navy in World War II. And then my father and a couple of my uncles in Vietnam. And I enlisted. I grew up with that tradition of service, and there was just always something I was going to do. And I enlisted in 1985, so 32 years ago, which is amazing. And ultimately got commissioned. I was in 3 wars in 5 combat operations over a total of 21 years of active and reserve service.
Wow.
And for me, that's what America is the company of men and women who are committed to supporting and defending the Constitution.
What are you doing now?
I do several things. I started a nonprofit that is sponsored by the University of Connecticut called the Entrepreneur Boot Camp for Veterans. And we're in our 8th year, going into our 9th year. But we help veterans start businesses. So
Awesome.
In 8 years, we've graduated 177 veterans. We've started 141 businesses.
Wow.
We've created 350 jobs, almost $40 million in gross revenues for the state.
That's incredible.
Thank you. When we started this,
Yeah, goosebumps, man. Like, that's wild.
When we started this, Connecticut was in the bottom 10 in veteran outcomes in the country for a lot of reasons, and now we're in the top 5. The 3 true outcomes are education, entrepreneurship, or workforce reintegration. So that's one. I started a nonprofit doing that. I'm an appointee to the Small Business Administration on the Advisory Committee on Veterans Business Affairs.
Awesome.
So we have, we're an advisory committee, but the SBA has final rulemaking authority for the laws that govern veteran-owned businesses in our country. And it's a big market. There's about 2.5 million veteran-owned businesses that produce 1.2 trillion in gross product nationally.
Get out of here.
And that's about 6% of the total U.S. economy. So it's a big chunk of the U.S.
Sure.
economy. I have also recently started. I did 2 things. I started the Connecticut Veterans Chamber of Commerce. Connecticut has a big veteran business presence in our state. Most of them are contractors with the defense industry.
Sure.
But the legislature really ignored veteran businesses as a constituency. So we've been able to get a number of laws passed that promote veteran business ownership. And then in the last 18 months, I've started a United States Veterans Chamber of Commerce, which we now have over 100,000 veteran-owned businesses, not as members, but as
Sure.
in our universe that we can communicate with. And the value proposition is that we certify them as veteran-owned businesses for contracting with state, federal, and corporate entities. We're also now have a partnership with the Department of Defense, and then we're working with a number of both corporations and, for instance, not-for-profits like the National Football League on veterans reintegration and getting the word out and things like that.
Got it. They could use a little bit of fiscal support
Yes,
right now, huh?
right. Yeah, absolutely. And NFL has been a great partner. They're actually going to have us to the Super Bowl this year, which is pretty exciting.
Wow, that's wild.
We just had an event on September 20th with the NFL Hall of Fame. We're sponsoring both the Wounded Warrior Games and the U.S. team for the Invictus Games.
Yep.
Next year, 2018, 2019. So, we're doing a lot for a very young organization. We have a great board of directors. Our chairman of the board is Bud Buka, who is a Medal of Honor recipient,
Yep.
who lives here in Connecticut. We have a number of corporate members and other prominent veterans advocates on our board as well. And so we have basically a 5-pillar program of value-added programs that we offer to veterans and veteran-owned businesses. So the 5 pillars are business, education, employment, family wellness, and what we call wellness, which is healthcare, which is physical, mental, and spiritual. And we seem to be finding our place in the overall market. So it's very exciting and I'm very optimistic.
It's awesome, brother. Your service above self started on the front lines in war and continues right here in Connecticut and America. So you should be very proud.
I really believe in the oath, and I don't think that the oath ends when your active duty service ends. I can't forget and turn my back on or just go on my merry way, knowing that we still have Americans who are in contact with the enemy, who are in harm's way right now, whose families are being shattered by the cost of service. We've seen that even in the last 2 weeks in Niger. But there's a lot going on. In May, the Navy SEAL went to Yukon, was killed as well, and that's our community. So this is not just over there. This is at home. This is where we live. And what I'm really, really concerned about, and I understand how people move on with their lives and other things become priorities, and but I don't want people to forget that we have Americans right now who are in contact with the enemy, who are in harm's way, and their families are suffering.
Guys, it's going to take you 2 seconds to share this story as your tribute to this gentleman and to the other men and women who come onto the show. Brother, thank you so much for joining us. Guys, thank you for sharing. God bless America.
God bless America.